This week, why is overnighting at Walmarts so controversial? And are they going away? We're going to talk about all that and more. This is RV Miles.
This summer, LL Bean wants to help you feel great out there with gear tips and advice for heading outdoors and exploring all the possibilities of the season. When you're putting together your camping and hiking gear, here's a quick hack to help you prepare for emergencies. Wrap a piece of duct tape around your water bottle. You'll barely notice it's there, but if a piece of gear breaks or gets a tear on the trail, you can pull off your tape to make a quick patch or repair. It's a mini repair kit you'll be glad to have. For more fun ideas, easy how-tos, and inspiring stories, visit llbean.com/guide.
Welcome to episode number 276 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two full-time RVers who, along with our three boys, have been crisscrossing North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, parking in a Walmart, and so much more.
We're coming to you again from the beautiful state of Oregon. We're only here for a few more days, and then we're off to Washington.
Bye, Oregon.
Checking off another state on our list.
Yes, it was so exciting to scratch Oregon off. If you are a member of the Road Signs newsletter, then you know that the last two volumes that came out, actually, we both spent a little bit of time talking about what it means to be in Oregon here for us. And so this has been definitely not long enough.
Yeah, it's clearly a state we need a lot more time in.
So much more time. I know we need to push on, and I'm really excited to get into Washington and Canada and, oh my goodness, Alaska. But boy, I'm not ready to leave Oregon. And I will tell you one of the reasons why in my fresh tank in a little bit.
What's crazy is that we're like halfway to Alaska from Baja, from like lower Baja. We're like in Oregon. We're at the top of Oregon, at the Oregon-Washington border, and we're like halfway to Alaska.
Yeah. Can I also say, we are only at the halfway point, but we are also in a section of Oregon for those of you that grew up watching Goonies, and I don't want to get too into it because we're going to do a recap on the Astoria area in a while. But we rolled up into Astoria, and I knew immediately when we drove in, and I hadn't vetted it yet, so I wasn't 100% sure that Goonies was filmed there. I rolled in and I was like, oh, Goonies was filmed here. And then I learned my husband has never seen that movie. And I was
never seen
Goonies. Like, who are you? He hates Ferris Bueller.
I do.
He's never seen
Ferris
Goonies.
Bueller and pretty much any John Hughes type movie.
Oh, John Hughes is the worst.
But I roll Ferris Bueller right in with that sort of.
I don't know.
I know Goonies is not the same thing as that, but
Goonies is Spielberg.
There's just a slew of 80s movies that I just never liked.
So what you're saying was, unless it was Ski Patrol, you weren't watching it.
Don't you come at Ski Patrol. It's the worst and best movie ever.
Yeah. You were Weekend at Bernie's? Did you watch Weekend at Bernie's?
Oh, that's no. I mean, I've seen it, but
listen,
no.
I feel like I don't really like 80s movies.
No.
We're getting way off.
I mean, but Indiana Jones me here. This is not.
But I take Indiana Jones 90s Indiana Jones. Like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade is by far the best Indiana Jones.
What are you talking about?
Anyway,
first of all, did that
we
come
need
out
to
in the
move on.
90s?
Yes, it came out in the 90s.
I'm Googling this.
You're Googling it. Okay, so we're back. We took a break. We Googled some things. We're back. I was wrong.
Yeah.
That said.
The 90s.
Okay. I was so wrong. Raiders of the Lost Ark is 1981.
Yeah.
So it was actually somewhere around Empire Strikes Back. Man, Harrison Ford was just like cranking them out.
And then he's rolling right into things like the Jack Ryan movies.
Air Force One.
Yeah.
Air Force One. So good. So Raiders was 81. Temple of Doom was 84. Now, that said, Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade was 1989. So
that
it's
is
still
solidly in the 80s.
I had said 92. Okay. Then the one we don't talk about, the one that doesn't exist, came out in 2008.
Yeah.
And then there's another one getting ready to come out soon, which looks really good.
The trailer, like, I was actually blown away by the trailer.
Yeah.
It was like really super modern action movie.
I know that people are like, Harrison Ford, sit down. You're like 80. But you know what I'm like? Harrison Ford, you stand up. You go live your best life. You make all those movies. Because you know what I want to be doing when I am Harrison Ford's age is I still want to be doing what I'm doing today, which is traveling and hiking and exploring and biking. And if Harrison Ford can be riding motorcycles in and around, what is it, New York? I don't know where he's at in this movie.
He wasn't the problem with the fourth Indiana Jones movie.
No, it was Shia LaBeouf.
it was many things.
And also aliens. Aliens might have been that problem. Anyway, from somehow we went from Oregon to Goonies. I can't follow this thought process. Yeah. Oregon to Goonies to Indiana Jones to Harrison Ford to us being 80.
They know what we did. They know the trajectory.
Well, I don't know if they do.
Now we're just going to tell them again.
I don't know if they do because that was cray.
Okay.
Like that was many levels of crazy. So that's where we're at. We're off on Sunday. A very happy Mother's Day to those of you that will be observing it on Sunday. We will be traveling, which is much like my birthday. Any sort of like day where Abby might get to rest. We're like, let's turn it to travel. It's just travel day. Yeah. But it's fine because we're going to be heading towards Washington, and I'm really excited to get to scratch that state off.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we are traveling fairly quickly, and it's been a lot of fun. It is getting tiring, but it's fun.
Well, we'll bring it up again like we do the last couple of weeks when we see those of you who are mile marker members for our monthly live in June. We will be in Canada, so that's not too far off. It's the first Monday of every month. We get together with our friends over in the Mile Markers community, and we chat for an hour of power. We will have covered 3 countries just in the few months of doing these lives again. It is pretty exciting. But we have a really great show today. We are going to talk about Walmart. We're going to talk about some tips, but we're also going to talk about why does this blow up? Any group you might ask this question in, any forum you might be in, why does this just blow the space up? Why can't we have nice things when it comes to talking about Walmart? I don't know.
There's probably a reason for that. Yeah. But first, let's talk about some more traditional camping.
Yes. Yeah. Before we get into Pavement Walmart, we're going to continue our segment with recreation.gov. Last week, we gave you an overview of the entire site. If you haven't had a chance, go back and listen to that, episode 275. But today, we're going to keep it short, and we're going to really get to the heart of what a lot of us that are listening to this podcast use recreation.gov for. And so we are going to give you our 4 tips, not 5. You only need 4 for planning an RV trip with recreation.gov.
Yeah, last week we talked a lot about using the search function and how you can just type in the name of a state and get all the campgrounds available. But we wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that and say you should use the filters and narrow down the different types of amenities that you want.
So are you saying that tip number 1 is use the filters?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want. There might be people.
Do I need to like bold headline
Jason,
this?
People might have their passion planners out right now trying to take notes. Okay.
You can pick pet-friendly sites. You can put in the length of your rig. You can decide if you want 30 amp, 15 amp, 50 amp.
If you're bringing amp.
Okay.
If you are bringing Aunt Patty with you, you might want to get a group site, or you might not. You actually might want to search for an RV site and then see if you can put Aunt Patty in a cabin.
One of the filters I really like is to cut out the first come first serve sites. So it's actually nice to.
What is happening?
There's like a train horn on an RV going by here.
What is going on in this campground? Welcome to the weekend.
What's nice about recreation.gov is they do list all the federal campgrounds. So you can see those first come first serve campgrounds. Even though it's a reservation site, you can see those and get all the information about them there. But if you aren't into first come first serving on your given trip, you can click the filter to cut all those sort of out there. Yep. You can also click the filter to only show you campgrounds with available sites during your booking window. So, all right. Very handy.
I was cutting you off there.
Okay.
I was trying to keep us rolling because we have a habit of really talking a lot. So I was just trying to keep us rolling here to tip number 2, which is once you have narrowed down into a campsite that you are interested or a campground you are interested in, take advantage of some of the tools that they offer in there. And that being a map that's going to show you the layout of the campground. Maybe you want to be by the bathhouse or the playground, or you don't want to be close to the entrance of the campground. You can use that map to go in and look at the sites that are available and then use the picture of that site to determine if that site's going to work for you. Make sure there's no trees that are going to get in the way of your slide. Is there enough hang in the back if you need it? What about your tow vehicle? Can you park it there? A lot of us now are thinking about Starlink. So you're going to want to take a look and make sure, am I surrounded by trees, which can be a wonderful thing when your campsite is covered with trees. But if you are a digital nomad on the road and you are going somewhere where there is no cell service, but you will have Starlink, that might be an important factor for you. So really take advantage of those like very minute details that they offer once you go and you look at the actual campsite.
Yeah, and if that campground hasn't put photos in, there's also a satellite view of the map. So you're going to get sort of the animated view of the map when you first click on it, but you can click satellite view and see overhead of the campsite and get a good idea of that. We are always looking to be close to a playground. If you're a tent camper, you might be looking to be close to the
You might be looking to be away from the playground, maybe.
Too.
I mean, maybe if you're someone who's like been there, done that, and I don't want to be close to the playground anymore. That's fine too. That's the beauty of being able to use the map either in the 2D or in the satellite. You can kind of go and decide what works
2D,
for you.
that's what I was looking for. I said animated. It's not animated. 2D.
I can't believe I got it right. It was coming out of my mouth and I thought, that can't be right.
Yeah, no, it's
Jason, Jason's going to have to edit that out. No, look at me, 2D. Okay, tip number 3. Use the app to find last minute spots and keep all of your reservations in one place. We talked a little bit about this last week, but what we didn't talk about is, let's say you've planned this big trip, right? And you're heading out, but there was a campground you were super interested in, just didn't have availability, or maybe it only had 1 or 2 nights. It just wasn't going to work. When you have the recreation.gov app, which we use all of the time, you can go in and you can keep checking to see if that campground is going to open up, maybe, and build that flexibility in so that if by chance, because we know that this happens, someone drops last minute because they went and booked 8 weeks when really they only wanted, 5 days, and they go and they drop it all. You can go in quickly right on the app. You see it, it's available. You snap it, you grab it, you pay for it, done. It's yours. And then you have everything also in the app to keep you organized. So not only your reservations, but your timed entries, if you have lotteries that you're interested in, any tours that you're going on, it's all going to be there.
So the last tip is don't avoid urban spaces when you're looking for federal campgrounds. There are lots of them. There are lots of places where we have gone to visit big cities or medium-sized cities and stayed at federal campgrounds that you can find on rec.gov. So Davis Bayou in Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
Which is great for exploring the Gulf Coast. So it's going to be access to Gulfport and Biloxi. And Biloxi, oof, you get to go on a shrimp boat tour. Awesome.
7 Points near Nashville, it's really right outside of Nashville. And it's an Army Corps of Engineers wonderful spot, really difficult campground to get into because it's super popular.
Well, now it is.
Some of the best sites we've ever been to.
I think we've talked about it too much because when we booked it many, many years ago, we booked it like 24 hours before we wanted to arrive.
We stayed right outside of Montgomery, Alabama. The great one on the lake in Waco, Texas.
With full hookups at that one. That was an Army Corps of Engineer in Waco, full hookups. And then, of course, one of our favorite and one of our most stress-inducing camping experiences was staying in a national forest outside of Vegas. It was only about half hour, 40 minutes to the Strip from where we were staying. And the campground itself was not the stress-inducing part. It was the foolish Jason and Abby who thought they could show up a day early on a Saturday and get a first-come, first-served site at a national forest campground that only had 10 spots to begin with.
That was dumb.
That was so dumb. Ended up sleeping higher up in the mountains in a parking lot of another national forest campground that took pity on us and let us sleep there because we had nowhere to sleep. So that, though, was for anyone who wants that, because Vegas, we've talked about Vegas, it's such a cool experience where you have all this urban, crazy, bright lights, big city, but everything around it is so amazing.
Yeah, there's like no suburbs. It's all nature.
So go Bright Lights Big City it up and then go back to your campground up in the mountains with wild horses.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It was wild horses and unlimited free firewood.
Oh, you know what? I mean, times have changed, though. Don't take our word on that unlimited.
Well, they just had so much, I think, that they were so much wood that they were clearing that they just, it's just there for you.
So those are our 4 tips for planning an RV trip with recreation.gov. Of course, if you have any suggestions on how you use the site to plan your trip, we hope you'll come over to the RV Miles Facebook group and share it with all of us there so that we too can learn from all of you amazing RVers out there.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Walmart overnighting. Dun, dun, dun.
This episode is supported by ParkWolf, the ultimate app for visiting U.S. national parks. With ParkWolf, you can view upcoming places and amenities as you drive through the park, locate the nearest gas, food, bathrooms, and pullover points. ParkWolf's wildlife maps show you the best times and places to see or avoid wildlife, along with a feed of the latest wildlife sighting photos from the parks. ParkWolf even makes it possible for you to view your live location and direction on official park maps while staying up to date on current NPS alerts and advisories. ParkWolf keeps working even if you lose service. To learn more, download the ParkWolf app for iPhone free from the Apple App Store today.
Harvest Hosts gives RVers unlimited, unique overnight stays at over 4,000 locations throughout North America with no camping fees. Make your RV trip more memorable by using Harvest Hosts to spend the night in your self-contained rig at farms, breweries, wineries, attractions, and more. You can even upgrade your plan to include golf courses and private properties to get a total of 8,000 locations to choose from. Get 15% off your first year of membership with code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthosts.com to become a Harvest Hosts member today and save with code MILES.
All right, Walmart overnight parking. This is something that anytime it comes up in like a Facebook group or something, people are just at each other's throats. You're camping there wrong. You're putting your stuff out, or you shouldn't be camping there at all. Your money isn't going to a small business mom pop campground like it should, or to the national parks like it should, or whatever.
Do they all sound like that?
Yes.
Is that the sound you hear in your head? And this
maybe the lesson is we shouldn't be on Facebook, but
or maybe the lesson is, to each their own. But this is definitely, whether you do overnight Walmart parking, whether you don't, whether you think it's a good thing or whether you don't think it's a good thing, this is an option for RVers. And it's something that comes up a lot. People ask about it. People feel very intimidated by it. Some people do abuse it. These are all the things that we experience, not only just in Walmarts, but also at the campground. So as camping season comes up, we feel like it's a good idea to revisit this topic, to share some tips, and also to just talk about our own experience with using, I guess, I don't want to just say Walmart's, because there are a couple other businesses that, welcome you.
Walmart is kind of a stand-in for all the different businesses that allow you to park overnight. There's Cracker Barrels. There's most casinos allow you to. There's Cabela's often, and Bass Pro Shops. And lots of different big businesses. And you can find lots of these on websites like overnightrvparking.com. But the big thing that I think we hear a lot lately is Walmart doesn't allow it anymore, or this is why Walmart's taking it away, or there are fewer and fewer Walmarts allowing this.
There's the problem, personally speaking, is that there are a lot of articles being written today that are alluding to talking about how Walmart is going to take this away, but then never really providing any factual information other than, we have a picture of this camper who, look, they're sitting in their chair with their grill. But Walmart has on their website an official policy regarding this.
Yeah, I mean, they say on their website that RVs are allowed to overnight at Walmart stores as long as it's legal in that municipality and the store manager allows it. And part of where I think a lot of this animosity came into play was that Well, first of all, it's just social media and the fact that somebody does something bad at a Walmart, which happens all the time. I mean, the number of police calls to Walmarts across the country has to be huge, right?
Oh, well, please keep selling how enjoyable overnight Walmart
how many
parking
thousands
is.
of Walmarts are there, right?
There's a lot of Walmarts out there. There's a lot of Walmarts.
But a few years ago, overnightrvparking.com put out an article where they had actually sort of gone through their listings and figured out that Walmart had dropped a certain percentage of Walmart's allowing overnight parking. And I've always taken an issue with that survey. And I said so back then, and I continue to say so today, but that the stats from that survey get picked up in article after article after article.
It's a big talking point for a lot of people.
But the thing is, Walmart has added thousands of stores in the last 20 years. The vast majority of those stores that they've added have been in big cities or have been their neighborhood market stores that you were never going to overnight at anyway. So when you add those all in, it waters down that percentage dramatically. There are Walmarts that used to allow overnight RV parking and that don't anymore. And generally that is in areas close to big cities or where there's often a problem. Areas where there's a large homeless population, unfortunately, stuff like that, where people have abused the... it's a bee on me.
That's a bee.
Don't grab it.
I wasn't grabbing
you
it.
grab
I was.
and it's going to sting me.
No, I was very gently.
Just let it be.
Just very
Just
gently.
let it be on me.
Let it be.
It's fine.
Just.
It's going to sting me.
It's not. It's gone away now.
Anyway, I think that the problem has been dramatically overstated. We have stayed at many, many Walmarts over the years, and I think we've almost never had a problem.
No, and that's knock on wood that, but I think a lot of people are probably saying to themselves right now, Jason and Abby, why are we talking about this? Like, why are you talking to us about parking at a Walmart? Well, because it is actually a really good option on a travel day. So you have let's say you're trying to get from point A to point B and you've got a real decent drive in front of you. Having access to be able to stay at somewhere like a Walmart or a Cabela's or a Cracker Barrel, places that are often right off of the highway that you can stop at, you can do your long drive day, you just pull in, you go to sleep, you get up and you move on. It's such a valuable resource. And we have often used it if we have decided, I always think about the time when we were in Florida and we had bad weather coming on our travel day. And we wanted to and I'm talking bad weather in the spring in Florida. We wanted to get ahead of that storm. So that rather than leaving on the morning we were supposed to, we left the night before and got on the road and made for a Walmart.
Yeah, and that's a situation where finding another campground wasn't really going to be a possibility.
But also, we had paid for that night already. And so
there just isn't a campground in the area where you need to stop. It's often the case. And I think a lot of people look at it as kind of like being cheap and, sort of mooching. And
I think it's being smart with your time.
Well, we also usually spend like $200 to $300 at Walmart.
Okay, slow down.
Like, when we get groceries,
if let's clarify. If we go grocery shopping, and that's another great option. Like you roll up and you go grocery shopping that night and you stock up the rig. Let's say you're taking off for your trip and you don't want to have to stock up like before you leave. You could have a few things in the rig, a few things you need. Do an overnight stop at Walmart, do your bulk grocery shopping, wheel it right out to the RV, load it up all there, sleep, boom, on the road next morning. Bonus, if there's like a Starbucks or a coffee shop in that shopping center too, boom, instant coffee in the morning.
No, it's not camping. It's overnight parking, and overnight parking is being taken away in a lot of areas. Walmarts are... and other big box store type businesses that have this type of space to park in. Sometimes the land they're on and the parking lot they're in isn't owned by them, and they don't have the ability to allow you to do that. Sometimes there's local ordinances. For a while there were actually local ordinances being put in place that were sponsored by the campground industry. The campground industry was writing draft legislation to give to all the different campgrounds out there to sort of push on their local legislators to put out there, because they were trying to make it seem like this was a problem that was taking away money from them. It's not something that people are doing in order to like go camp in an area. I guess some people do that, but it's not something you should be doing in order to go visit an area. It's a way to stop overnight to get yourself to your next destination.
Absolutely. And so we want to just talk right now, if this is something you're interested in doing as the camping season revs up in just a few weeks, if this is something you've never done before and you feel intimidated by it or you want to try it, or if it's not for you, then just hit fast forward for like the next 10 minutes, because we're just going to talk really quick about some tips that you can do to ensure that you have a successful overnight at any business that you're going to stop at, and then what you need to know in order to be comfortable doing that. And also, frankly, I mean, our family sleeps really well.
It's
in a Walmart
weird.
Parking
It's
lot.
weird.
It
We
is
sleep so well in a Walmart parking lot.
Good.
And
I don't know. It's just a vibe. The vibe is different.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to get anything out, because you can't get anything out. You don't have to feel like you have to set up the campsite. It's sort of like it, maybe for full-timers, I don't know, maybe it breaks up the monotony.
well, I think also it often ends a long drive day.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people are sort of tuckered out after that long drive day. And there are a lot of arguments over what you should and shouldn't do at one of these type places. And thankfully, there is some information out there that is very clear and easy to follow. The Escapees organization, so it's a big group of RVers, a big social club for RVers, worked with FMCA and a whole bunch of other groups.
I mean, there's at least a dozen, if not more, RV brands, RV manufacturers on this list here.
This is a policy that they call the Good Neighbor policy of overnight parking etiquette that they put together after talking to places like Walmart. So when somebody says you can't do this at Walmart, well, these are the things.
Here's
on the
my
list.
policy that
these
says
are
I
the things
can't.
you should follow, and don't worry about what other people are saying what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
right?
So number one, stay one night only. Duh.
That's
no brainer.
a real big one. It's a no-brainer to
Go.
us. Maybe some people wouldn't think of it as a no-brainer, but it's overnight only. You're not
One night.
camping.
You're not camping. 2, obtain permission from a qualified individual. That is generally always going to be the manager. Now, we have had situations where we have come in later in the evening and said manager, gone.
Yeah, you just go to the customer service desk
Yeah.
and
Go to a customer service rep, but just make sure you have a human wearing the uniform of that business say, yes, this is
and
fine.
it ranges. Sometimes they'll be like, well,
Whatever.
we don't officially say anything. People do it. Sometimes they'll say, here's a sheet of information and we want you to park right here and all that. And it just depends on the store.
Yes. Number 3, obey posted regulations. So again, that goes with what you might see posted in the parking lot. Now, that said, we have rolled up into Walmarts where we know for a fact, talking to someone at that Walmart, that we can stay there, and yet the parking lot will have signs that say no overnight parking. But the Walmart was like, no, we don't know why that's there. That's silly. Absolutely, you can say. And we've never had anyone come knock on the door and tell us to leave.
Yeah. Now, there are other places where this is why you definitely want to talk to somebody, because there are places that there is a private security team that doesn't work for and is the actual owners of the property that will come and put a boot on your vehicle and won't let you leave until you pay them.
Yeah. So again, just know your surroundings before you go. Number 4, no awnings, chairs, or barbecue grills. Again, you're not camping.
Don't look like you're camping. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just hang out in your rig. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're there to do. Do not use hydraulic jacks on soft surfaces, including asphalt.
Yeah, so you don't want to like mar their surface. We've all sort of seen that at a campsite where a jack has marred the surface in the hot sun, and you want to avoid doing that. So try to keep your jacks up.
Always leave an area cleaner than you found it. Leave no trace, even in a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, and I'm actually not even a fan of they often have trash cans all around the Walmart parking lot. I'm not even a fan of us using those because it kind of fills them up. So I try not to use those when possible, unless it's just for a couple small items.
Like trash from something we purchased at Walmart.
Yeah.
Number 7, purchase gas, food, or supplies as a form of thank you when feasible. Now, sometimes what we will do if we don't need to do a big grocery run is we'll just plan on getting something for dinner from there. You know, just maybe pick up a couple of things. But let's be real. There's always something we've forgotten. There's always something that we need. And if you're traveling with kids, they're always hungry. Yeah. And there's never enough food. So we can pretty much always guarantee we're going to be able to pick up something from a Walmart. Or you go have breakfast at Cracker Barrel. Yeah. I know that is not some people's preferred breakfast, but listen, our kids love the French toast. So when the kids are happy, I'm happy. Number 8, be safe. Always be aware of your surroundings and leave if you feel unsafe. This is such a common rule in general for camping. Remember that you have a home on wheels and it can go when you need to go.
Yeah, if we're planning on overnighting at a Walmart or other store, we'll usually have a couple backup options.
Yeah, that was going to be like my number. Like I was going to write in number 9 here.
We'll write that in as 9. Plan. And I've got a 10th one that I really think should be on this list that is not. And that's if you're operating a towable, you're towing a fifth wheel or a trailer, stay hooked up.
Yes.
Or at least stay like looking like you're hooked up. Yeah. You want to be able to, if somebody comes and asks you to move, you want to be able to move right away. And you definitely, this is not somewhere where you leave your trailer and go explore the city or even go have dinner somewhere, anything like that. This is not the type of situation to do that in. Maybe unhook to go get fuel or something if you want, but nothing longer than that.
I really like this paragraph they have in here too that says most of the complaints lodged regarding RV parking on business parking lots have to do with the aesthetics and perceived abuse of the privilege. There are a variety of competing interests that were balanced to arrive at this industry-sanctioned code of conduct. As you can see, the code of conduct is nothing more than an RVer's good neighbor policy. And I think the big piece to take out of that is the aesthetic and perceived abuse of the privilege.
Yeah.
It is a privilege.
You're like playing loud music and hanging out outside. And like there are lots of things that aren't on this list that are hard to enumerate because they're just common sense.
Right.
Don't look like you're camping. Now, there's one thing that is not on this list that we hear all the time, and that's slides. Mm-hmm. People will say, oh, it is against the rules to put your slide out at Walmart. Walmart does not care if you put your slide out. It's not a part of the good neighbor policy. A lot of people need to put a slide out in order to stay overnight somewhere. Now, you do want to be respectful. You don't want your slide to block a lane of traffic or anything like that. So if you have a slide, sometimes it's nice to park up near grass and put the slide out over grass.
Well, I think that's why it's really important, too, to remember that when you do park, you're going to want to park in the back of the parking lot, back away from all the cars, back away from all of the traffic. Get away from all of that. You have to walk to get to the store, okay? You just have to walk. But put yourself way back there in a spot where if you do need to get your slides out, you can get your slides out. And it's okay if you need to get them out.
Usually at a Walmart, you're parking across several parking spaces, the 45 degrees against the way you would normally park into one. So there's actually plenty of room to put your slides out. It's not in the way of anything. And that's one reason why we don't really stay at rest stops anymore. When we had the bus, we stayed at a decent number of rest stops because we didn't have a slide. Rest stops, usually if you're parking in sort of the big rig or truck parking, you don't have the room to put a slide out because it would go into the next parking space. So usually we don't do that anymore. And plus it's another option for truckers. But Walmart has never been a problem for us.
No, not at all.
And one more thing I want to add is about finding Walmart locations or other businesses. The best way you can do that is go to any of the review websites, go to Campendium, go to overnightparking.com where they really have gone into this in detail and see, reviews from people doing it recently. Was it allowed recently? Did those people have problems? Did they feel it was sketchy? Did they talk to somebody? You still want to get permission when you get there, but you at least want to have an idea in the first place. Of course, you can call the business as well, but instead of calling around everywhere, first look on the different campground websites because they all list overnight parking spots like Walmart and find out if people have had success parking there in the first place.
Absolutely. So that is our discussion on Walmart or business overnight parking. Everything that we talked about, you can go and see the full list at rvmiles.com/276. We'll have it there for you, including a link to the Good Neighbor policy. And then also we will make sure that the 4 tips for recreation.gov RV trip planning are in there for you as well. rvmiles.com/276.
All right, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll check the level of our tanks.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around, you'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com. RV Miles is sponsored by the Road Pass Pro suite of travel apps for RVers. We love using all the apps in the Road Pass suite to plan our travels. Togo RV, Road Trippers, OvernightRVParking.com, and Campendium. You get premium access to all of them for $49.99 a year. Find the best campgrounds, the best boondocking sites, the best roadside attractions, and the best routes to get to them all in your RV, tailored for the length and height to get you there safely. Use the code RVMiles10X to get $10 off your Road Pass Pro membership at roadpass.com.
We are back, and it is time to check the level of our tanks, sponsored by Matt's RV Reviews Liquid RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS RV toilet chemical that really works. Check it out along with all of our recommendations in our Amazon store at amazon.com/shop/RVMiles. Jason, what is in your black tank this week? Actually, what is in our
We have a
collective
joint black tank this week.
You want to start it or you want me to start it? You gonna start
Go
it?
for it.
Oh, I'm gonna go for it. Okay, I get to go for it. So this campground that we're at, beautiful campground. Absolutely love it. Just biking trails are great. It's this wonderful Oregon State Park that we're at. So we rolled up. Their check-in is at 4:00. Okay, we rolled up later than 4:00. We went up to the visitor center. It was closed. We saw our names on the board. Went to our site. Okay,
To be very clear, there is a sheet of paper on the board that lists all the names of the people coming in that night and their campsite number.
And I also want to say that, like, this is a breakdown in communication. Okay, so it's not like shade at one person or one thing.
No.
It's just a breakdown in communication. So we see our name. Prior to our arrival, we had done our pre-registration check-in. Okay, so I had gone through and filled out all the information. We'd paid for the site months ago. Good to go. We get into the site, and the next morning at like 8:39, and let me say too, the board just had our name on it. Never said anything about needing to return, because remember, I did pre-registration.
Yeah.
Name on the board, 8:30, knock on the door. This is a ranger. I'm like, oh, okay. So I open the door, and I am handed a warning slip, and he's very nice. The guy is so nice. Okay. And he says, oh, did you guys arrive last night? And I was like, yeah, we didn't get here till about 7:30 or so. He's like, well, this is, you're not in trouble or anything, but this is just a warning that I need to give you, and you need to go up to the office and you need to pay for your site. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I did that months ago. Okay. Didn't have you on the list. Okay. Well, you need to go up and register. I said, okay, well, I did pre-registration. Do you have that? None of it. And he's like, you need to go up to the site. And it's like, you need to go up between 9 and 11. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go up there.
And it wasn't just us. It was Jamie and Clay as well.
Jamie and Clay
so
as well.
It was everybody. It wasn't just a fluke.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I take my warning for a site that I was being accused of not paying for that I'd already paid for. I took my little pink piece of paper from him. Jason and I hop on our bikes and we go up there before 11. And we register, and there's some confusion, and we get it done and whatever. The reason why I'm black tanking this is And feel free to jump in at any time,
Sure,
Ms.
like,
Jefferson.
it's like,
I mean,
why
I will
do we
go to
have
town.
computer systems if we're not going to use them. Like, I
But
don't.
here's
I
the
don't
thing.
get it.
Here's what to me is like the black tank of this whole thing. I get it. Accidents happen. He came up. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Accident.
Yeah.
This is something this guy has to do every single day. I don't blame him, but he has to do this every single day.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense. It's a big waste of the
But-
resources.
So this office visitor center that we have to go and check in at, that you are supposed to check in at when you arrive for your campsite, is only open from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Yet you are not allowed to check in here until after 4. So I don't understand.
Maybe there's somebody up there after 4, but it's officially only open 9 to 11.
I don't think so, because and they said that sometimes they return after lunch, like
But
maybe,
sometimes not.
but maybe not. So we came in after hours, saw our name on a board, had paid for our site, had done our pre-registration. They had everything like our truck plates and all that stuff that they were going to want when we checked in. They had it all in a system somewhere floating out there in the world.
But
The next morning, I have a ranger knocking on my door telling me I didn't pay for a site, giving me a warning, which if I'd gotten another one would have resulted in me being kicked out of here. And basically having to come up and talk to someone. And the minute I said I had paid for it, he just started falling all over himself, because he knew immediately that this was a total screw up on their end. And you could just tell that he hates this.
what list are they going off of, though? If
I don't
the
know.
list posted on the wall had our names on
And he
it?
just
I don't
kept
get-
saying, oh, I'm so sorry. It's obvious not your guys' fault, but can, this and
It's
this.
just, I wasn't a part of this interaction.
No.
And look, I don't want to get all sensitive over the way people talk and stuff like this, but it does seem like a problem that happens from time to time. I won't even say often, but from time to time at state parks in particular, where it's like, instead of saying, hey, just wanted to check, are you guys registered? Did you book the site online? Or, something like that.
You're not coming up on our online.
They come up to you and you're like, are you going to pay?
Yeah.
You
need to go up and pay.
And we in the past, it's this is why it bristles me, is because a long time ago when we first started out,
That bro at Illinois State Park.
Illinois State
he was
Park,
something.
we talked about this on the podcast back when it happened, but this was like 5 years ago. We came in, we actually checked in at the visitor center and got our tag that you're supposed to put on your post, the little piece of paper that hangs on the baggy clip that they nail to a post.
Yes.
They give us, and we put it on, we go to our campsite, and a huge massive rainstorm comes in, and the next morning there's like a foot of standing water everywhere. And a ranger pulls up in his little pickup truck. You know how they use the little tiny mini S10s. and pulls up, comes out, knocks on our door, bangs on our door, and is like, y'all plan on paying?
Just like that. That's how he sounded.
That's how he said it. Not like, hey, just wanted to make sure that you guys got your your permit. Can you put it on your post?
He could
or
have
anything?
just gone over to the post and noticed that our ticket had fallen off into the water.
It had fallen off in the water in this ridiculous storm, obviously. So he goes over there and he's like fishing it out with one of those like grabber sticks and putting up. Never apologize.
I think it speaks to a larger narrative sometimes, which is we all tend to assume the worst in people rather than just assuming.
Just assume there's a mistake. I mean, I'm sure people squat on campsites.
What is it about when you assume? It makes out of you and me.
It makes an out of.
Yeah, it makes a money sign out of you and me.
All right.
And so that was, I think, just this very weird breakdown in communication, and speaks again to why do you make me take all of these steps and go through all of this stuff? Why do I have to do that when you don't want that? Like, the difference, I think, sometimes between what the actual campground, and I'll just speak to the state parks, what the actual campground at the state park wants done is often completely different than the website that the state park has its campgrounds under.
And some of them aren't using that system for what they just like put stuff in a spreadsheet from that system and transfer it over.
There's a big disconnect between the two not having a conversation with
what's
each other
wild
properly.
To me too about it is that, you know, you go to some states and it's like you just go to your campsite. You don't talk to anybody, and as long as you're the person that booked that campsite,
your name's on there.
Fine. Your name's already on the post for you and everything.
That
you just
I think.
go.
See, now I think that would be a much better use of that gentleman's time.
Sure.
Was this every day? Whoever worked here just went around, and they put the little card on there that had someone's name.
400 camp posts in this park, so maybe they could do that as well.
The wood bin here has its own camp post.
There's a camp host specifically.
That's the job I
firewood.
want. That is my job. I want to be the wood bin host.
And the firewood is self-pay.
It's amazing. Jay, somebody's got to go, but somebody has to still be there.
It's still a job. It's still a job. Sure.
Gotta chop that firewood. You got to bundle it up. You got to keep it clean.
I don't think they chop it or bundle it.
Got to go collect the money, like give it to the ranger.
It looks all pre-bundled and chopped.
Yeah, it does. It does. So I don't know if that's so much a black tank as it is maybe more of a gray tank, as maybe more, it's like, don't tell me I didn't pay for something. I don't know. It was weird. It was
cut the red tape out of camping.
It was so
just
awkward.
show up and go to your site.
It was just so
Shouldn't
awkward.
have to talk to people.
It was not a great introduction to this campground, which is an amazing campground, but it was not the best introduction. All right, what is in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank is the lack of sales tax in the state of Oregon. It certainly makes it feel very visitor friendly. And look, we're not people that hate on California. We actually really loved California, loved our time in California, and a lot of the stuff that people complain about California is not stuff that you as a visitor will ever experience.
Meh.
But the lack of sales tax in Oregon is sure nice.
It has been really nice to be like, I'll take a pint, and it just be like, oh, that's just $6. And then be like, I'm sorry, what? Is this BOGO? Like, do you want 12 from me, right? Like,
it's not even
want
like
more money for this.
It's not even the tax. I mean, it is the tax, but the ease of like figuring out how much stuff's going to cost.
It's so sweet when something like dinner the other night came out and it was like, is $80?
Yeah,
and I was like, $80.
And
you sure it's not like
tip on that real easily?
It's so nice.
So, and I spent last night at the store with the kids. We actually went to a Goodwill and went to a Walmart because they're buying props for a movie they're filming together, and they're all buying stuff separately with they have their little kids debit cards, and they're trying to figure out how much stuff is going to cost, and they're like, oh, but with tax that's going to, and we keep realizing, oh, it's so much easier to figure out.
Yeah, we're all spending $20 and we need to, it comes up to X and X. Yeah, it's definitely been easier because math is hard,
especially at Goodwill where things were like priced whole dollar amounts. There's no like $5.99. It's $6.
It's just $6 at Goodwill. It's just $6.
What's in your fresh tank this week?
Okay, so last week I black tanked a laundromat. This week I'm gonna fresh tank a laundromat. So I had to go to the laundromat yesterday here in Astoria, and I went to a laundromat that is a laundromat, a very nice mini mart. So it's just one big building. So on one end is the laundromat, and then it connects into a mini mart, which connects into a brewery. So you can go do your laundry, and while it's drying, go over and have a beer. And there's so first off, the laundromat, spectacular laundromat. It's either an app, a credit card, or quarters, as it should be now. Okay? No more laundromats with quarters.
All three. Wow.
All three were an option. Okay?
And you have to buy a card that's like $5 and preload it.
No, and again, remember last time's laundromat that was like, hi, it's going to cost you like $20 to use this one loader. This one was a big old 8-loader for $9.50. Girl washed everything. It was amazing. It was so nice. Things got so clean. The dryers were hot. Didn't worry about scorching. There weren't signs that were like, not our fault. There was a literal attendant who someone was talking to about how this dryer wasn't working. And he was like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. We will make sure to get that taken care of. Can I move you to another dryer and set you up so that you can get your clothes dried? And this guy was like, he was like a young kid. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Then I'm like, okay, I got like 40 minutes. These clothes are going to dry. It's going to take like 40 minutes. I was like, okay, I'm going to go over. It's called Growler Guys. I'm going to go over there. First off, it's a place that you can come in and there's 30 different tops and they're all set up for you to fill your growler. They have growler prices for each one and they have all kinds of beers, ciders, kombucha, seltzer, and CBD. And so I'm like, oh man, God, where do I even start? So
it sounds awesome. And more laundromats should consider being more user-friendly like that. I feel like there is another laundromat story that we now need to throw in here, however.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you do. You just don't remember. So on our way up to this campground, we stopped. We made it a point to stop midday at a laundromat. Because we were all the laundry that she did, we were intending to do on our travel day.
I forgot about this.
With Clay and Jamie, we were pulling our rigs into a laundromat. We double checked before that they had room for us to park and everything. So we pull up at this.
Jason, I'm cutting you off because this has to get a part of this story, and then we have to wrap this podcast up. Or it's going to be 4 hours. Jason is good. So Jason and I was like, okay, we have to divide and conquer. One of us has to take the laundry, and then the other one is going to make lunch. And Jason's like, oh, I'm taking laundry. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to make lunch on the rig. I'll make lunch for the kids and for us and like all of this. And he's like, I've got the easy job. I'm going to go do some laundry.
So I go in, it's a small laundromat. There's probably like 15 washers and maybe 12 dryers. And there's only one other guy.
That's fairly big, actually. 15 washers?
It's small. It was pretty small.
Okay,
It wasn't like tiny though.
Okay.
But it became small real quickly. There was one other guy in there that was finishing up his stuff in the dryers. So Clay and I, we bring our laundry in there. You're pulling it out of your bag and sorting it out into a washer and taking your time.
Doing your thing.
And all of a sudden, a 15-passenger van rolls up, and 10 guys. They must have been like pipeline workers or something like this. 10 guys. Bolt into the laundromat. They each have a bag of their own laundry and they each run to a machine or two and they start taking up all the machines. So we're like frantically just trying to grab 2 machines to start putting my laundry in. Clay's doing the same thing. And I get all the laundry and I'm just like floored at what's happening. But trying to get it all going. And then I'm realizing I'm looking at the ratio.
You're doing the math.
Of washers to dryers. And realizing that all of our loads are going to end at the same time. And that the people whose loads end slightly early are going to have the benefit. And I hadn't grabbed the soap from the RV yet. So I'd run back and get the soap and half explain what's going on to Abby while I'm running back out.
He comes into the rig and he looks like a deer in the headlights. He's just like trying, and he's like 10 guys just piled out of a van and ran in there and they took everything. They're just taking, and he's like, I need the soap. I don't know what's good. And I'm thinking, Jason very rarely goes to the laundromat. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I just like chopping up some carrots, and I'm just doing my thing. And Jason's like, I gotta get back in there. They're gonna take everything.
I had it so the second one of the washers ended, I grabbed 2 things out of it and ran over to a dryer. And had I waited 30 seconds, I would not have gotten a dryer.
And we had a decent amount of laundry we needed to do. We opted to just do a bag.
Just did a bag's worth, which was, it ended up being 3 loads. I did a single load and a double load.
Listen, that worked out so great for me because I went and did laundry yesterday and then sat and had a couple ciders while I waited. Oh, also this place here in Astoria, and it's just called Laundromat. And
it's just called Laundromat. It's not called Washer on the Clock, but it's only open half the day.
It's not Washer on the Clock, but only by clock we mean for 4 hours. If you are in Astoria, just search up Growler Guys. It's in the same building and it's all connected. They have a television in Growler Guys that's security cams, and you can see the laundry room just to make sure your stuff is okay and nobody's getting things out of your dryer. It was in a food truck. There was a food truck outside.
Well, they're also capitalizing off of it. They're making money. Otherwise people are just sitting there reading a magazine.
So smart. There is a sign in the laundromat that says, hey, while your laundry's drying, go get a beer.
Nice.
I mean, it's so smart. It was such a great experience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So from bad laundromat
That's the
to good
last
laundromat.
time we're going to talk about laundromats for a while, okay?
Oh, don't say that because
yeah.
who knows what's going to happen at the next one.
It might be a new segment on the show.
Also, who knows what's going to happen with laundry when we get into Alaska? I don't know.
I've heard it's not bad.
I don't know.
All right, that's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Yes, it is. And if you enjoyed probably one of the most random discussion episodes we've ever had, please consider going over to Apple Podcast and leaving RV Miles a 5-star review. Your review is helping put this show in front of a whole new generation of listeners. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Of course, if you want to learn more about supporting our small business and what we do here at RV Miles, please go over to rvmiles.com/milemarkers and consider joining our growing number of individuals who are helping to support us and also bring more content to you that matters to you. Other than that, you know where to find Jason and I. We are over in the RV Miles Facebook group. Head on over there if you want to chat with us. And until next week, we hope you stay safe, have to go to laundromats that have a brewery in them, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.